So, still trying to figure out all the technical difficulties. Um, Sorry for this. Let's see. Audio bitrate too high. So we'll see what's going on here. There we go. Okay, we're back online. Well, we have a couple more minutes to go, about 3 more minutes. Again, let's check out who's tweeting right now. Oh, okay, so we got some HTT, Hyperloop HTT going in. Again, no new tweets from Elon Musk. And one new notification, that's good. Let's see, oh, thanks. Thanks, Elo, for giving us some support during this technical difficulties. Oh, and we see the Boring Company is stuck in traffic. That will be a theme, I think. So let's tweet at them. Let's say, looking forward to going underground. Smiley face. Again, let's maybe they are stuck in traffic and the news conference is going to be late. You never know. This is live. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us. I'm looking at the chat box over here. Hopefully we don't crash again. I think my bit rate was too high. But this is going to be funny. So we got Boring Company, and then we got Elon Musk in a new window. So let's go through another question. I wonder if any news channels will be covering this live. I'm not sure. I'm sure some local news channels are covering it live. But I don't think any national ones. It's about 2 more minutes till the press conference. I will be streaming that here in kind of another window. What other government entities are invested in understanding how well this is going to work? That's a great question. There was recently a 1,500 or, I don't know, crazy long document of the planning that needs to go into the Boring Company that was released, I think, through a news agency. That's a fascinating read. It tells a little bit about the dimensions of the tubes, but it really they've done a lot of work and a lot of planning to kind of investigate these tunnels under LA. And what other federal government city requirements must be met for safety purposes? I think the meeting with LA Metro will be very good. I think the head of LA Metro planning for the subway came from Denver, Colorado, and now he's out there, so he's had experience with huge infrastructure projects and can give a lot of good recommendations to the Boring Company. As we are in the last couple minutes, we'll just make this bigger. What electricity does it take to do boring? That's a good question. I'm not an engineer, but we'll look into that. I'm sure one day this boring tunnels will all be solar powered, and the boring machines will run off of solar powered and Tesla battery packs. But right now, I don't think that's the case. So the Boring Company is live, just like on YouTube, just like I was on YouTube until technical difficulties. And there's other coordination between the LA Metro. There's coordination between Baltimore, Maryland, DC, and I'm sure New York City's Department of Transportation's. But it's taking a huge amount of communication between these different organizations and companies and the public now. And I just did a YouTube video on InTheHyperloop about the policy behind infrastructure and how these different Hyperloop companies are going about that and trying to build test tracks. So we will we'll see exactly what kind of stuff that is. Now let's just double check to see if the Boring Company has tweeted. Maybe they are really stuck in traffic, who knows? In the meantime, I think it might be kind of fascinating to see to find that big PDF file for the Boring Company. And let's make sure this audio is really high, so when it does start, we'll go to it. The Boring Company PDF. And we might have to go to yeah, this is tough to find. It's a massive PDF. Well, it's a really fascinating thing. I will find it eventually and put a link to it below. But it's for LA tunnel size. Yeah, and tunnel boring machines. I've tried to get interviews with another company that makes tunnel boring machines, but haven't had any luck. This was like really recent too. Yeah, this is tough. Maybe it was Fortune. I don't know, but still waiting. So if you have any questions, feel free to tweet at me. I'll be looking at them. And Hyperloop Careers from Hyperloop Virgin Hyperloop 1 is still tweeting fiercely. Let me close out of that. So yeah, Loop. Maybe they'll have a working prototype that we'll see today. I'm not sure, but Loop is a high-speed underground public transportation system. And it's those clear pods. Let's bring up the Boring Company, or maybe, yeah, let's go to the Boring Company. I'm not even going to go into the whole, oh, it's an information session. Okay, we're still waiting. We're good. So it's that. So this can hold 8 to 16 people, and you know, we'll carry bikes, and this slate right there is kind of an information panel, or you can, you know, get a Loop vehicle by your mobile phone. I wonder if the press conference will be happening in the tunnel tonight. I'm not sure. And let's see. The Boring Company is still stuck in traffic. They'll get there soon. Let's see what people are saying. Build a tunnel, good idea. That's kind of funny. Build the Hyperloop, we like that. You know, this is kind of boring, so, you know, been there, done that. Oh, looks like there's going to be kind of 2 people. Okay, so this is cool. And this will be fun to see. So it's at a location, not in the tunnel, perhaps. Oh, he got a little, oh, that's cool. So anyway, this is interesting. We see that they're going to have a kind of a question and answer between probably Elon Musk and somebody else. Still waiting. That's okay. So, yeah, message us if you have any questions. I just need to bring up my YouTube page. What is the possibility? Okay, good. We have 2 questions. What's the possible biggest surprise that might be announced? That's a good, great question. And, you know, I think the biggest question might be, or the biggest surprise will just be, how cheap this is. Not sure. Still don't know any prices, and we still don't know really any other numbers for construction costs, or we don't know how right-of-way is given for parts that might need to go above ground. So that's a good question. Another question is, how many tunnel boring companies compete with the boring company? That's a great question. There's a lot, and I don't know the answer to that. And right now, I think the boring company, these 14-foot diameter tunnels are not the biggest. I think some of the biggest are near 60 feet in diameter. And so, it's definitely an upstart, brand new company. And hello, Nearbase. Thanks for joining tonight. And yeah, we're still going. Let's see, checking Twitter for more Hyperloop. And I'm checking Brandon's page because he apparently is there. That's pretty sweet. I should probably have a hashtag boring company page up. That's cool. So yeah, we're just still kind of holding. That's a cool shot. I don't know when this was taken, but we see a Model S inside the tunnel. And right now, just a couple yards away from that is the SpaceX Hyperloop pod contest track. And that will be happening pretty soon, actually. Let's go to that and check out that page. I've been trying to interview all the teams, and if there's a team member watching, I'm still happy to do an interview. But there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, about 22 teams participating in this. And they're working feverishly right now on their pods and building them and getting last minute things figured out. Today I did an interview. You'll be seeing that interview hopefully soon. And it's taken a ton of time out of all these students. Now they're trying to find internships to start over the summer, and then take a break from the internship and go back to Hyperloop pod contest. So it's pretty sweet, and that'll be taking place on July 22nd. Again, the goal of the pod competition is to go as fast as you can in the about 1 mile tube, and there will not be the pusher again like the other previous pod competitions, and you should not crash in the end of the tube. And Jebediah Kerman, thanks for joining us. When will this start? That's a great question. We're still waiting for the boring company to have a nice little image of the tunnel. Pretty dark, but pretty awesome. And it's live, just a blank image now. Thanks, Nearbase. Yeah, there's I see there's 1,600 people watching. Perhaps YouTube delays that number, but more people watching. Let's just check Twitter real quick. And I'll be quiet once this all starts. Everybody's excited. Everybody's ready to go. No new tweets going on from Elon. The boring company hashtag is probably lit right now. So we'll see. No new news from that. I'm going to follow Brandon, and hopefully he can give us some love. Yeah, still stuck in traffic. I think there will probably be a t-shirt made because of that. Okay, we got some more viewers. Have you interviewed all the teams for the pod competition? No, I am trying to. I have a fair number of them, but I'm still trying to do all of them. Some of them, are international and it requires a lot of planning to get the time zones correct. But yeah, they're just really busy, and it's a learning experience for these teams, and it's not easy to kind of go on camera and say what's working, what's not working, or what you've learned, what you've not learned, or it's not easy. So I don't want to pressure them too much, but I just want to say hello to all the Hyperloop pod teams. And thanks, Connor, for that comment. Nope, unrelated. And yeah, so we got about 2,200 watching. That's pretty sweet. We'll like that. Keep the questions coming. And I'm just refreshing. So, there's a ton of information. What's interesting with the Boring Company's FAQ page and the Hyperloop One's FAQ page is not a lot of difference. They're both very thorough. It was really interesting to see last week that the partnership between Virgin Hyperloop One and DP World Cargo Speed Pod, and how they're working with this other entity, DP World, to develop a little bit faster the technology to have cargo fit in a Hyperloop pod. That's really fascinating. It was in Dubai with Richard Branson, and they hinted at other partnerships with Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure we're going to hear about that more. But what really came out of that interview was their deep partnership with India and the government of India in getting the test track from Mumbai to Pune built. And that's like a major initiative of the company, and that will definitely be the first place that we see the Hyperloop being built. But we'll see, the timelines of Elon Musk and the Boring Company to see if that will be faster. Who knows? And again, right now, Elon Musk and the Boring Company is making a Hyperloop, not a Hyperloop, sorry. It's not Hyperloop Classic, where it's a vacuum. That is what the Virgin Hyperloop One is doing. And let's just go to, so Virgin Hyperloop One is making Hyperloop Classic, whereas the Boring Company is definitely just focusing on pods and lower speeds of 125 to 150 miles an hour. And let's just see if they have any, let's see timeline. I haven't visited that in a while. But, oh, this is way late, or okay, so by 2021, they suspect having 3 production systems in service. Okay, and this is the April 29th press conference that they had about DP World Cargo Speed. I'd highly recommend you read about it. It's really fascinating. They had to re-envision their entire logistics thing, but we'll kind of skip that. We'll skip the Virgin Hyperloop One right now and focus back on the Boring Company. I really wanted to find this PDF of the Boring Company. So we're back. It says stream offline. Let's hope it gets back online. But well, Let's hope this works. I think YouTube is having difficulty. Oh, it's on now, thank you. Okay, no problem. I guess it's my screen. Sweet. So, I think Elon Musk will probably release a lot of photos about, you know, the route in LA and possibly these little off branches and stations. So that'll be interesting. And we don't really know where those stations will go. I don't think we've seen any maps like that for LA, but I could be wrong. So let's go back to the East Coast. Same kind of statistics and numbers. Not sure exactly the distance or amount of tunnels that this corridor is. I thought it was like 60 miles or I'm not, 35 miles. Twin tunnels, so side by side, 35 miles from downtown to downtown. Again, I think the LA project is more massive. Okay. Yeah, so, you know, right now they've just built that single 2.7 mile proof of concept tunnel. And I'm just checking all the hashtags. Still nothing. I think they're figuring out things on the back end. That's fine. Let's just go to Twitter and see what people are streaming. And more excited. Let's just tweet at Brandon. What's the general feeling in the press conference? Let's just see if he replies. Yeah, not much is happening. That's kind of funny. This is a new way to get around, I think, in Washington, D.C., a scooter. So, yeah. So that's all going on there. We're just in the waiting game. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Let's see. Let's see what jobs are available. Oh, I see the Boring Company might be going live soon. This will be amazing, says Sassy Multitasker. Thanks. Yep, it will be amazing as it goes. Yeah, let's check out the jobs and maybe compare the Boring Company job listings with Virgin Hyperloop One. So we see safety and reliability engineer focused on electric skates. We're going to really see those, maybe a mock-up or I don't know what of an electric skate. The huge emphasis on bicycles and pedestrians. Mechanical technician, that's pretty obvious. The TBM, the boring machine, requires a ton of mechanics to run it. Even though I think like a regular TBM from Germany only requires like less than 10 people. So it's very automated. And of course, Elon Musk has been saying, you know, automation, automation, automation in the Tesla factories. Electrical engineer, that's pretty obvious. Senior tunnel design engineer. Industrial automation engineer. The boring machine operator and mechanics. So maybe they're looking to increase the number of boring machines, and maybe we'll hear more about how many different boring machines there are. California OSHA operational safety and health certified safety representative and gas tester. I believe I saw another news article. They already have been written up. The Boring Company has been written up a couple times for OSHA health risk things, and they were very minor. Like it could have been like a ladder that was leaning up against something, you know, very minor, but like any other construction company, things can be very dangerous with machinery, with different levels, and of course a mechanical engineer and designer. So that's interesting. I see a notification. It's pretty calm, everyone's just chatting. It's a very diverse mix of people here. Thanks, Brandon. You know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I wonder, they really do need to, the Boring Company needs to reach out to many different kinds of people and community members and businesses, so it's definitely...
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, here we go. Let's go.
My name is Ken Chasen. I'm Senior Rabbi here at Leobeck Temple. On behalf of our synagogue president, Lloyd Seegan, our board of trustees, I'm delighted to welcome you all here for an important evening of learning and conversation. We are, I would suggest, probably the ideal location.
That's pretty sweet. The snail and a block.
Smack dab in the center of the Sepulveda Pass, and in order to get to our synagogue, sooner or later you have no choice but to either get on the 405 freeway or Sepulveda Boulevard or both. And that means that it is sometimes veritably impossible to get to our synagogue. And that means for all of you, I hope you enjoyed, I trust that you enjoyed combating that challenge yourselves at rush hour this evening for the purposes of participating tonight. So, this is a perfect preamble for the conversation that we'll have here this evening. Our congregation, not so surprisingly as a result of our location, has spent a little over 5 years in our community organizing work under the direction of our Vice President of Social Action, Eric Stockel. We have been working with city government officials, with Mayor Garcetti's office from the very beginning of his first term, with our county officials, with MTA, and business interests up and down the Sepulveda Pass, the purpose of achieving advancements in public transportation. A number of important victories over the course of those years, most especially the victory of the passing of Measure M in 2016, which of course brought with it a host of important transportation advancements for our city. But over the course of the work that we've done, it has been our great good fortune to make relationships with important business leaders, entrepreneurial visionaries who have been able and willing to dream big when it comes to a transportation revolution that can transform the way we connect with one another, not only here in the city of Los Angeles, but throughout the country and even throughout the world. For us to be able to talk about that here this evening and to dream of a world where we can achieve those type of writ large victories, not only for our quality of life, but for the preservation of our natural resources, is a great, great honor. Delighted, therefore, to welcome our presenters this evening, the Boring Company, all of you as our guests for an evening that I am sure will help all of us to be inspired about a future that could be bigger, better, and brighter for us all. It is my pleasure to introduce Jen from the Boring Company, who will introduce our panel this evening.
Hey everyone! Thank you all for coming and for tuning into the live webcast. Elon, we're going to take us through the vision of the Boring Company. We're going to talk about our project in Los Angeles, and we're going to close with questions. With that, take it away, guys.
So that was Jen from the Boring Company. Now Elon Musk is getting on stage.
All right, so yeah, thanks for coming.
They look kind of...
Yeah, we're going to talk about what we're
Oh, never mind.
trying to do.
Sorry if it's really hard to hear.
Questions we can, and there's quite a lot of education I think that needs to be done with respect to what's possible with what probably should be described as like personalized mass transit, effectively. I mean, there's some things that are conceptually quite different from other modes of transport. We think this is the only way that we can think of to address chronic traffic issues in major cities. That almost every major city, and LA is, I mean, arguably the worst, but certainly among the worst, there really don't seem to be solutions that are anywhere around the corner, or like even that might work that I'm aware of. And I've been living in LA since 2002. In 16 years, it's like the 405 has gone. It varied between like the 7th and 8th level of hell. It's like sometimes 7, sometimes 8.
It is not improved.
Exactly. The point is that it's just not improved over all that time. And so, we're not suggesting that this is
I'm live tweeting.
the way that we think is probably the best way to solve the problem, but
It's a little hard to hear. Sorry, guys.
ideas that others have, we're not suggesting this to the exclusion of other approaches, but it's the one that we think could work and is worth trying. Yeah, so we'll talk about how we're doing it.
It's not the only solution. It's just one solution that's worth trying.
We're going to start with the problem statement.
The problem statement.
Soul destroying traffic. There's a few ways to skin this cat. I don't think this is the problem with this is that there would be like zillions of these things flying all over the place, and
A flying car.
somebody's not going to service their car properly, and they're going to drop a hubcap, and it's going to guillotine somebody. And it's going to be noisy with a lot of, it's gonna, like I feel like a hurricane. I mean, can you imagine how much Air Force a little drone has, like one of the little drones, and these would just be huge by comparison. And so I think this is maybe I actually don't know any way to make the physics of this work just because of the sheer amount of wind force that has to occur in order to lift something that's carrying a person. Like you really can't even fly the quietest helicopter through neighborhoods without bothering people. So I think it's really hard to imagine going 3D up. So that if you can't go 3D
The other way
unlikely that
is
you could,
down.
then what about going 3D down? That's the other direction. And you can go to very many levels down. So you could in theory, you could have like hundreds of levels of tunnel.
Who's the other guy sitting next to Elon? He puts together the SpaceX pod competition. I forgot his name just now.
Like if you add a tunnel or some new transport system, will demand then not just increase, and we'll be back where we started.
He's a SpaceX employee, and I think he's one of the underwriters for, or people that signed off on the Boring Company's founding documents.
It seemed like it was like hardly different. Okay, so the thing is that what's actually happening with these with highways is that the highways are at the actual outer limit of their capacity, and you're really just barely moving the needle in capacity. But for tunnels, you could have hundreds of lanes, and there's no real limit. In fact, like the fundamental issue that we face is that so much of our life is 3D. You're in a tall building, or in a dense office environment, and then we go to this 2D plane of streets, and the result, the consequence is obvious. You're like losing an entire dimension, and everyone wants to go to and from the buildings at the same time. You sort of want to arrive at work at the same time and then leave around the same time. So then, obviously, you're going to get stuck.
Everybody wants to leave at the same time in the morning and stuff. So.
Hundreds of tunnels, and you can have many small stations.
And many small stations.
The city. You can actually, without even the city even appearing different, you could solve the transport problem. Because one of the other issues with, say, a subway tunnel, and by the way, I'm not against subways, it's just...
He's not against subways.
It's just one of the challenges with subways is that when you've got very large stations, then you're going to put a lot of people will need to go to the station, come from the station, and it creates a lot of congestion around that station. You have to reserve real estate for the station, and it's very difficult to weave large stations into the fabric of the city. But if you have many small stations that are not much larger than a parking space, then seamlessly integrate a new transport network into a city, and it wouldn't affect things in a bad way. And it has compared to an above ground system, or like compared to a flying car, you don't have to worry about bad weather. You can't see it, hear it, feel it. You're not dividing communities with lanes, and we think we can make this really fun.
We can make it really fun.
Steve.
Steve.
Absolutely. You're right.
That's his name.
Three-dimensional. Flying cars they don't reduce anxiety.
Flying cars don't reduce anxiety.
Well, tunnels do exist, and they're very buildable, and it's all about building them better.
Yeah, I mean, the thought experiment with flying cars, like you say, a helicopter with wheels. There was that admirals to a helicopter, right? Anyway, so the keys are we got to figure out how to tunnel fast, safely, and at a cost that's not crazy.
Can I get the cool speed facts for the snails and just show
Yeah,
that? Show
exactly. This is our little friend, little chum Gary. The snail.
Snail.
The company mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just like the order of magnitude, I mean, human walking speed is approximately 2 to 3 miles an hour. The fastest boring machine in the world is about 0.003 miles an hour. And a snail is about 0.03 miles an hour. So you have the boring machine, which is 10 times slower than the snail, which is 100 times slower than a human. So what Elon has challenged the company to do is at least beat the snail. And so, hence our mascot.
Yeah.
Beat the snail.
Exactly. It's not like this tunnel is going to be ripping through the neighborhoods. It'll be like, like a fish called Wanda.
Gary, thanks.
Like that scene with the steam.
His name is Gary, and it's in the top right of the
It's just a crazy image.
the pineapple.
This, and you put it on the ground, and you
Thanks,
this thing will
Miguel
go ahead and
006.
Like 10 times faster.
Yeah.
It's, anyway, so we do want to be faster than a snail, which is way harder than it sounds. And then ultimately, if we could, like the dream would be to be maybe 1/10 walking speed, which would be, if we could be 0.3 miles an hour, that would be, wow, then you could get a mile done every, 3.3 hours. Yeah.
Wow. A mile done every 3.3.
It'd be LA to San Fran in like a few weeks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you're still like 1/10 walking speed.
Yeah, still like
you definitely run away. You can crawl away from it with one arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like pretty, not scary.
Yeah. And if you want to talk about some of the ways we're doing it.
So some of the key things.
LA to San Francisco in 3 weeks. Is that what he said?
So you drill continuously, and then put in the reinforcing segments while you're drilling. So typically, what happens right now is that you drill for a bit and then stop, and then you put in all the reinforcing segments. And that takes ages. In fact, it takes way longer to put in the reinforcing segments than it even takes to tunnel. So if we can just dig continuously and put in the reinforcing segments at the same time, that would be at really more than a doubling of speed, maybe a tripling or quadrupling of speed.
Wow.
For the in-house design for the boring machine, we've tripled the tunnel boring machine power, so it has 3 times as much power. We have, these are like a lot of things. This is really not like brain surgery or rocket science.
Brain surgery or rocket science.
We're using like really first-rate engineering talent to solve problems that I think are pretty straightforward. Like one of the biggest challenges is how do you get all the dirt out? And it's
How to get the dirt?
Boring is to get the dirt out only. So we figured out designs to remove the dirt quickly, automate segment erection, and just in general go faster. A lot of the time that's required for these boring machines is for laying tracks and for like really long power lines. So you can figure if you're like a mile-long tunnel or 2 mile-long tunnel, you need like a couple of miles of high-voltage cable, which is really big, heavy cable. Because the boring machines themselves are all electrically powered. But having 2 miles of high-voltage cable is pretty expensive, and you've got to keep laying out more cable. We want to make this more like a cordless drill.
Make it a cordless drill.
Using, Tesla battery packs and or two to drill, and then it can drill without you having to have this crazy cable behind it.
Yeah, and the trying new things, while it's lighthearted, is actually not. It's actually rare in the United States. There's one school that specializes in mining, but in general, there's
One school that specializes in mining.
in America. Most of it's either in Japan or.
I think that's Colorado School of
So
Mines.
it's really trying new things has actually been very helpful for us.
Oh, there's a photo of the little.
We made an electric locomotive. So we think this is the biggest electric, the battery-powered locomotive to be precise. So electric battery-powered locomotive. It's actually just using some Model 3 motors and batteries to haul the rail muck cars. And that's like 250,000 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 250,000 pounds of muck of dirt on the rail cars.
Pulled by 2 electric motors and a battery pack.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the other tunnels at scale all use a diesel locomotive in a tunnel, which is kind of a crazy thing to do. You have all these diesel fumes, and it's dangerous and it's smelly, and you have poisonous fumes. But it's kind of a silly thing, but we think we're probably the first to use a battery electric locomotive
Of that size.
of that size. Yeah.
And if you ever see the pictures, you can kind of see it up there, that enormous ventilation duct at the top. It's a 3-inch ventilation pipe, and it's solely there for before we made the electric Loki for the diesel Loki. You have this gigantic ventilation pipe, and the second you went to electric, you barely need that, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. So the vertical integration, we were creating our own concrete segments. And we're creating them on site using dirt that we dug out of the ground, which, again, may seem like an obvious thing, but this is almost never done. Or we're aware of a case where the concrete segments, the reinforcing segments, actually use dirt that's dug out of the hole. It's typically using some construction company far away, and then bringing in the concrete segments. But we actually just make the concrete segments on site at the start of the tunnel. And then we're making bricks out of the dirt.
Yay! Earth blocks.
These are bricks that are made by compressing the dirt at extremely high pressures, adding a little bit of just a small amount of concrete, and you can have bricks that are rated for California seismic loads.
Yes.
And then these bricks, we actually think we can sort of sell the bricks for like 10 cents a brick or something like that.
Nice.
And they're really great bricks.
I like the 3 photos there.
They build houses with them and things. These way better than cinder block, because cinder block's kind of not that strong and kind of rough and grainy. These are super strong.
Flamethrower proof.
I don't know, what material? They're incredibly smooth. Yeah. There's not really a good analog for these, because these are bricks that are way better than any bricks I've ever seen at a construction site. That they're capable of taking extremely high loads.
Yeah.
And they made it 5,000 psi or something.
Yeah, they have higher compressive strength than concrete, and you can always just keep pumping it up more, just using the machine.
Yeah, so higher compressive strength than concrete, and
they're really great bricks.
We do some fun things like make life-size Lego kits with where you can order a set and build anything. I think we was thinking of starting with the Egyptian pantheon.
Egyptian pantheon.
And so
you told us to build a pyramid. We're building a pyramid and a temple for you.
Cool. Yeah, like Temple of Horus. Okay, so start with the Temple of Horus, pyramid, and the Sphinx.
Yeah. The Sphinx.
And a few other things. And then if you want, you can sort of order the kit and kind of build this in your backyard. And it seems like a fun way to spend an afternoon. So then if we can actually take the dirt from the tunnel and instead of just dumping it somewhere, we can turn it into something useful that can be used for fun or for real buildings. I think this could be, for affordable housing, really compelling.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the cost of a tunnel,
Yes.
about 15 to 20% of the cost of a tunnel is muck removal. It's just putting it in trucks and sending it to a fill. So if you do something useful and actually make a brick, even if you give away the brick, you've just cut the cost of tunneling by 15 to 20%, which is pretty great. And then one other thing to note on the costs is the cost to build a highway, I mean, it depends who you ask, it's between 1 and 4 million a mile. So if tunnels were...
Is it per lane mile?
Well, yeah, no, it's add a lane, add a lane, 1 to 4 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, if tunnels were there, what, you know, why is everything not tunnels in that case?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So, everything.
Well, this would be a lot of like road space. If this works out, there would be a lot of road space that could be converted into sort of park space.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this what gives you a sense for like you really need a very small footprint to enter the tunnel network. It's like not much bigger than a parking space, and then you can interleave these entrances and exits throughout the city.
That's pretty sweet. This is all footage that we've seen, I believe, previously.
In some ways, this would be like a car in that it's really personalized mass transit, and you have unlike a traditional subway, you have a highway system and a kind of like a series of off ramps. So when you're going through the tunnel network, you would enter the main arteries and then automatically transition from one artery to another, and then eventually go out through one of the little sort of micro stations, if you will, or mini stations, you were going very fast the whole time, and the only time you'd actually stop would be when you exit. One thing about, say, a subway or a bus is that, particularly subways usually stop at every station. You might occasionally have an express, but obviously one subway train can't go past another subway train. Very difficult. And so a subway ends up being like a series of stop streets, whereas this system is designed to be more like you have a highway and a bunch of off-ramps and loops connecting to the highway, kind of like cars. It's sort of like, almost like an autonomous underground multi-level car system.
Yeah. That costs $1.
That costs $1, yeah, exactly.
$1 fare?
We could probably just charge about $1 a ticket or something like that. A typical bus ticket, I think average price of bus ticket is about $2. It's looking like less than a bus ticket.
Less than a bus ticket.
Yeah, and just in Los Angeles, I mean, if you kind of just do it out with the available routes, it would be like downtown Los Angeles to a specific terminal in LAX in about 8 minutes, which would be wonderful. And what's kind of neat about it, it's not just downtown LA to LAX, it's downtown, because the stations can be small, it's downtown LA to LAX Terminal 1, LAX Terminal 2, and you would go directly there, is the entire concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of just route like packets on a network, and like sort of like the internet, kind of like the way the internet works. And the packet would like you sort of end up wherever you want to be. And like the entrance would be very close to where you want it to be, and the exit would be very close to where you want it to be, because instead of having dozens of stations, you'd have hundreds and possibly thousands over time.
Wow.
So it means the granularity of each station is much finer, and people can be dropped off really within a few blocks of where they need to go.
Yeah, and each side tunnel itself could have a bunch of side tunnels, so you literally, I mean, in the extreme, you could have a station in everyone's driveway.
That's sort of in the limit, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A station in everybody's driveway? What?
So,
Hyperloop.
Going between cities, you'd want to evacuate the air and have a pressurized pod. Now, what we're talking about doing here in LA is not the Hyperloop, but we're talking about a loop. So we're trying to distinguish loop versus Hyperloop. Hyperloop would be where we draw a vacuum on the tunnel, have a pressurized pod, and go very fast. This would be good for long distances, say going from LA to San Francisco, going from Washington D.C. to New York,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and so Hyperloop would connect to a loop.
Hyperloop would connect to a loop.
To have a sort of smooth transition. Yeah.
Do you want to give the warning about the video?
Oh, the next video, if you are subject to seizures, I would. Los Angeles is like New York is for like plays. If you can build a tunnel, because we've got seismic, we've got.
Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties.
You've got the water table. You've got like very complicated.
Utilities everywhere.
Yeah, utilities everywhere. So it's a very, very complex thing. And we have an east-west tunnel that's almost completed in Hawthorne that's parallel to the 105. So we have an east-west
They just discussed a little bit about the
research test tunnel, and we think it would be good to
SpaceX
have
pod
a south one as
competition.
well. So we're going to have a good cross-section of the geology in LA. And then besides building the tunnel itself, we want us to see what the user experience is going to be like and what the public would prefer the tunnel operation to be like. So if you, what feels good, get public feedback by having people use the tunnel. We wouldn't be charging.
Oh no. We're buffering. So I hope the internet.
What people
there we go.
would like or not like.
I think my computer's having a tough time right now.
Yeah, so people will be wondering, like, well, how is this going to affect me? And the important thing is that there'll be no street closures. We're not tunneling beneath any homes or businesses. If anyone can detect that we're just digging a tunnel, we'd be glad to hire them because they have some very impressive detection equipment. Literally, walking on the surface creates more vibration than the tunnel boring machine. It's really quite difficult to detect when a tunnel is being dug.
Yeah, and it's important. Like with this test tunnel, the community, and it's our goal. And if we ever don't, please let us know that nobody knows we're there, because it's really important that if we want to build very long tunnels from LA to San Fran, it's important to be an amazing neighbor, and that you don't disturb anyone. So this is, in our mind, you won't hear us, you won't see us, you won't feel us, you won't even know we even exist. The only way you'll know we exist is the fact that there are trucks on the road, and that was what the haul route hearing had been. And then so that's the haul route we were.
Sorry for all the internet connection problems.
Here's the direction: it's south on Sepulveda, east on National, onto the I-10 East, and then our trucks were limited, especially during rush hour, and we're not allowed to truck before 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. The concept being, we are going to do everything right. We're going to be the best possible community member, and if anyone has suggestions, please let us know. But the goal is that literally, we're invisible.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, this is really important because it's not going to scale if the creation of the tunnel, if we had to say a 2-mile tunnel without disturbing people, then how could we do hundreds of miles of tunnels without disturbing people? So this really needs to be something that people just don't even know it's there unless they look for it, and even then it's tricky. So and then, like I said, once we're done, we want to, in order to get public feedback, we want to sort of offer free rides, and it'll be like, sort of like a weird little Disney ride in the middle of LA. But like make it really fun. Bring your flamethrower.
Bring your flamethrower.
Yeah, he's got a good point. It's not a flamethrower.
That's all right. Keep making that mistake. All right, so we're working closely with the city of LA and with Metro to make this happen. So, sometimes people wonder, like, hey, are they just going and building this crazy tunnel and nobody is even looking at it? And they're seeking like exemption from all oversight. This is not the case. There are a zillion permits that need to be approved for this tunnel. So there's a huge number of city permits, county permits, state permits. The nature of the exemption that we are seeking is simply from CEQA, because getting a CEQA approval can take sometimes a year or sometimes 2 years, and we need to figure out what the large network will be, and use this sort of kind of research tunnel to figure that out, and then apply for the larger environmental or submit the larger environmental impact report to the state of California, which has the most stringent environmental rules in the country, maybe the world, but certainly, yeah, like probably the world.
Yeah.
And the nature of CEQA is that it's very much a permission based system that takes a long time. This will be a very safe tunnel, and would still fall within all of the permitting requirements that LA would normally require, which is I think something like 600 pages of permits that are required for this tunnel. So it's not like, here, fill in this form. This is like 600 pages, at least, maybe more.
Our CEQA study alone, actually, it was 1,500.
1,500.
1,500, wow.
Yeah, and actually,
So we have done the CEQA study.
yeah, so the way just for CEQA to work is you don't just, it's not like we said, oh, we want an exemption. No, what you do an initial study, and an initial study determines your next steps. And so, I mean, like we were talking about, literally there's no environmental impact. And so we did this 1,500-page study, submitted.
You would start off in one place and end up in another. But it would be more for interest's sake that I think people would take it.
Yeah.
As
And
opposed
to give us feedback.
Yeah, exactly. Give us feedback. So we're prioritizing. So the commitment we've made is that we're always going to prioritize.
Sorry about the problems with streaming.
That'll be
Prioritizing pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah, seems like that's probably the right thing to do. And then earthquakes is probably the single biggest question we get. And people don't realize that like earthquakes are primarily a surface phenomenon. They're like waves on the ocean. And if you're in a tunnel, it's like being in a submarine in the ocean. There could be a hurricane on the surface, but in the submarine, everything is quiet and smooth. And that's actually how it is for tunnels. And when there have been major earthquakes, such as there was a Mexico City earthquake, I believe, they used the tunnels for evacuation. Because all the roads were disrupted. And
the two cool factoids about the earthquake. The safest place to be in an earthquake is in a tunnel.
Yeah.
And so LA was just hit with I think it was 5.3 or 5.6 earthquake, and our office trailers were rocked, as I assume everyone else was, and the people in the tunnel who were working did not know an earthquake had occurred. And a way to think about it from a physical standpoint is if a tsunami hits you, where do you want to be? Yeah. You don't want to be at the surface. You want to be, if you somehow could be, at the bottom of the ocean where you would not feel it at all. So no, it's a very big misconception, but earthquakes, and they're designed for seismic loading is standard for any tunnel design, especially in this area. Metro does it, we do it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be possible to have a subway tunnel in LA,
exactly.
Which a lot of people do not realize exists, but there is a subway in LA.
There is a subway.
But it would not, if earthquakes were dangerous, there's no way that a subway in LA would be approved.
Same in Japan.
Yeah,
lots of subways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. Japan is very seismically active and has one of the best subways in the world. Yeah. Sinkholes. Yeah, I think would we agree that if you could actually detect with any instrument, detect that there's been a ground movement, we will take corrective action, and then ask you for what that instrument was, because it's really there will be no change in no sinkholes, no nothing.
Yeah, and we actually if you're ever driving on 120th Street in Hawthorne, you'll see these little prisms on the road, and we actually put them there, and we have an autonomous system monitoring the settlement of the road. And if it ever goes above a 20th of an inch, which I think it maybe has happened, it might be 0 times. It almost never happens. The entire company gets an email and people stop. So we overlook at this because obviously that would be something that would not be good. So we monitor this and very closely. As all the LA Metro did the same thing, and we've seen great numbers. I mean,
It has zero effect.
It does.
Essentially, you dig the tunnel, you put in super strong reinforcing segments, and those maintain the diameter that you've cut out of the ground, and there's no volume change. And so as a result, sinkholes are not a factor.
Yeah.
Our tunnels will just basically go below the metro tunnels, so there will not be any interference with the LA subway system. Talked about CEQA. We absolutely will be doing an environmental impact report for the larger system. And we have, as Steve was saying, done a very comprehensive report in the request for exemption.
Which is public, it's online.
Yeah, this is like good bedtime reading. 16 other pages?
16, 15, and 16.
I tried to read it all. I'll put the description of it in the channel.
Yeah, we think it's like probably a fair thing to do, and it will allow us to get this done sooner than might otherwise be the case, because we can resolve a lot of questions with essentially the research and public feedback tunnels. And we talked about induced demand. So, and we sort of use a lot of people that are at the Boring Company are ex-SpaceX or even current SpaceX people. Steve was one of the first people to join SpaceX. It's like,
thank you for the job.
well, you're welcome. Like 2003. Wow, 2003. Yeah.
Number 9 right now.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for everything you've.
You're number 3, I believe.
What the?
What the?
So yeah, we have a lot of SpaceX engineers that are either kind of working at SpaceX and the Boring Company or full-time at the Boring Company. And so we get to use rocket technology to build tunnels and apply some pretty advanced techniques to create tunnel technology, which hasn't generally gotten a lot of love. So we're really taking world-class engineering talent, applying it to this problem, and seeing if we can make some headway. And at SpaceX, we were able to go from basically an empty warehouse in El Segundo in 2003 to the Falcon Heavy launch this year. We were able to land 2 boosters at Cape Canaveral. The center port hit the ocean, but we know how to solve that. And then as a demonstration, sent
That's so awesome.
booster to the asteroid belt. And it's like more interesting than launching a block of concrete.
Yeah. I know. Here's my SpaceX rocket.
So, we did that because normally when rocket companies launch something, they launch something boring like a block of concrete. And what's the least boring thing we could do? And ironically, boring. So I think if the team of people who did what you saw there, then if some of those resources were applied to personalized mass transit, then there's the potential for significant breakthrough. But obviously that can only happen with public support, and so hope that if we can ask for your support, that would be great. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'd really like to thank everyone involved. I've worked with the cities a lot, Councilmember Kretz in particular, community members, the Temple, and LA Metro, and we're really trying to make sure all the stakeholders are involved, and that we get as much feedback as possible, and do something that is useful, and ultimately may delight those who use it. So, are there more questions that we should answer?
I think.
Okay.
There we go.
So I know we addressed a lot of the frequently asked questions, but when you guys came in tonight, you guys submitted some question cards as well as utilize our interactive Q&A platform. So the questions that you submitted have been voted, and the ones that voted, rose to the top, we'll address those now. First question. What engineering challenges are you expecting from drilling underwater, and are you considering using immersed tube tunnels?
Yeah, actually, the tunnels are, I believe, water and gas proof too. Well, Jen, why don't you answer this one?
Our alignment in Los
You
Angeles
might
is
need to move
actually
the mic closer.
our alignment in Los Angeles is actually above the water table, so we won't be tunneling underwater in LA, but
we can.
we can, exactly.
And really, the gas permeability is a bigger issue than water.
Right.
Because you have to be gas impermeable to roughly 5 atmospheres.
And I would just add that, our tunnels are sealed to, water and air, so,
Yeah.
Well, looking long term, Hyperloop, the whole concept of Hyperloop is keeping a seal. So we've obviously designed from day one for that, and that includes water, methane, and just all air. So it's really a sealing exercise, which I think we've done pretty well with.
Yeah, it's essentially if you have a tunnel that is capable of holding.
So we're back, and hopefully the streaming problems on my end will get fixed next time there's a live press conference. But that was a really fascinating time. Definitely, I was live tweeting it during the press conference, and some of my takeaways would be the following. Let's just see if I'm actually live streaming. So some of the takeaways, it's definitely personalized mass transit, different from other modes of transportation. Every city in the world has traffic problems, and there's no way to fix the highways anymore. So you must go down below ground, and there was a lot of nuance regarding some of the technical specifications on how many cars come out of a little parking spot station, but I believe he said around 16, but I don't know what the timeline is on that. But there won't be too much of a notice because there will be a lot of different stations. Excuse me. They're definitely working on this hard right now, and the test tunnels that are being built in LA are really a proof of concept, because if you can get it done in Los Angeles and in California that has very strong rules and regulations regarding environment and safety, you can pretty much do it anywhere else in the world, and seismic and other kind of factors, and very passionate local community people. So the next tweet, they're working on the boring company's own design of a boring machine called Proof Rock, and that will be 10 times faster than conventional boring machines, and a lot of automation. And the real tricky bit is getting dirt coming out of the boring head face, and different sections of the tunnel, cement tunnel components that need to come in to reinforce the new tunnel. So figuring out that kind of orchestra has been pretty difficult and is kind of the only limiting factor right now. So how much would it cost to travel on the Boring Company sled? $1, and it won't affect utilities underground. And the flamethrower is coming soon. So tunnels are very tight. They can handle gas, water right now, and they're built to have zero vacuum for Hyperloop. There's a lot of people involved in this initial tunnel. Leo, the temple, they had this press conference in LA Metro, City of Los Angeles, City of Hawthorne, council members and community members. They want to continue that dialogue. They said, most of the employees of the Boring Company are former SpaceX or current SpaceX, so there's a lot of smarts behind that. And of course, the sleds will prioritize pedestrians and cyclists. Earthquakes are not a problem. Sinkholes are being monitored, but are not a problem, and no interference with other LA infrastructure. And there's very few earthworms at that depth, so that's good to know, and moles. This is probably the most fascinating. These times, Dodger Stadium to LAX, 10 minutes, Getty to Union Station, 12 minutes, Staples Center to Carson, 8 minutes, LGB to the Forum in 11 minutes. And then this rendering, we see glass walls that protect pedestrians from walking onto the platform of tunnels that go out from a main underground station. I don't see any lights or sunlight coming in there. And yeah, we see different sleds ready to go and maybe a concierge service in the center or sitting down. Very, very futuristic. Just really fascinating to kind of mull that over. We do see center guideways that probably recharge and direct. Of course, they didn't mention this, but that direct the sleds. So we'll be monitoring those little central guideways to see what else goes on. And there's like a purple light over there. I don't know what that means, but this is obviously a major station. And they're working hand in hand with LA Metro with a zillion permits. The initial study determined that they don't need to do a environmental study, so they're gonna, but they will eventually do a kind of a federal environmental study, and that's kind of the main goal. So they're kind of skipping ahead in order to do the main study for environmental purposes. This test tunnel in LA, if you know that they're tunneling, they want to hire you because you shouldn't perceive it. No street closures, no tunneling beneath any homes or businesses. You won't see, feel, or hear tunneling or vibrations. There will be haul routes, but along certain times of the day. And it appears these are non-peak hour times of the day, 8 to 10 a.m., 10 to 3 p.m. in that middle part of the day, up to 21 trucks, and then tapering off in the afternoon, and then no trucks overnight, or you know, till 8 in the morning, basically. The Hyperloop has, you know, its roots in the SpaceX Hyperloop pod competition and all the student teams that have done really well. No news about that, but they did show off the video of the pods, their test pod going really fast. Hopefully they'll get up to 300 miles an hour in that 1 mile and stop by the summer. And Hyperloop is between cities, Loop is in cities. They wanted to make that clear. So like you could do a Hyperloop LA to San Francisco in about 30 minutes, whereas a loop is, you know, 150 mile per hour max. So downtown Los Angeles to LAX in 8 minutes. Everything is all electric. And earth bricks, sorry. Fun way to spend the afternoon, or real building like affordable housing. 15% of removed dirt is removing dirt, the costs of tunneling. So if you can remove 15 to 20% of tunneling costs, that's just a huge factor. And plus, the more tunnels you build, the less surface roads you'll need, so you can convert highway and other roads to parks and rec, or new kinds of real estate options. So he did mention vertical integration. It uses dirt on site made from the hole, and they're really good bricks. They're smoother than a normal brick, and smoother than a normal cinder block, and they look really good. So they have created, I didn't get a good photo of this, but maybe possibly the world's first electric train for tunneling, or I don't know on this scale, but it lessens the amount of air that would normally become toxic if you had a diesel train in there, and that upper air shaft vent doesn't have to be as big as it would if you had a diesel thing. So really fascinating. They really pushed it quite a bit. They removed a couple motors in there and converted it to electric. Yeah. Private funding, not much about funding of the Hyperloop or of these tunnels, loop tunnels, but we'll see more about that later. They just want to continue drilling continuously, which is typical of other drilling projects, and put in reinforced segments at the same time, double speed, and triple the boring machine power. So tunnel fast, safely, cheaply, and beat the snail. So, and try new things. They really focused on trying new things. So many small stations throughout a city, you can solve the transit problem not against subway, but yet stations are about the size of a parking lot, and you don't need a lot of real estate devoted to like a subway station platform. Highways are at capacity currently. Tunnels can have hundreds of lanes. So fun. I am getting kind of tired at the end here. Let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Personalized mass transit, different than other things. And yeah, it was a good, interesting question and answer. A lot of transparency. It should be live now on their website. That's great. Yep, and it works on their website, so you can watch it there. We'll continue to monitor the situation. I'm just going to check #Hyperloop. That's good. And check the Boring Company hashtag. Nothing much. Let's see what Brandon's doing. Brandon Company. So Brandon tweeted out the Boring Company's Model X, and that's pretty sweet. So that's about it. I think that's it was good. We'll continue to update everything. Thanks for joining. Sorry for the streaming problems. We'll get that fixed next time. And please let us know if you have any questions. We would love to hear from you, or any suggestions. So until next time, stay in the hyper.